Bonjour mesdames et messieurs, je m'appelle Tito. Je fais des vidéos sur les finances personnelles chaque semaine. Mais parfois, je parle d'autres choses comme aujourd'hui quand je vais revoir le nouveau film La Femme Anjola. Hey guys, my name is Tito. I make videos on personal finance every week, but sometimes I talk about other things like today when I'll be reviewing the new film La Femme Anjola. La Femme Anjola is the highly anticipated crime thriller directed by the highly respected director Mildred Ogwo. It tells the story of Adejare, a young stockbroker slash investment banker in Lagos who takes a part-time gig as a saxophone player in a band at a bar called The Basement. There, he meets and falls in love with Anjola, the band's lead singer, and the two begin a love affair with quite significant consequences. The movie stars Nollywood icon Rita Dominic, as well as Nonso Bassey, Femi Jacobs, Boyo, Mumbi Maina, Shawn Faqua, and BB Naija star Bassey Epeyong, and a host of other actors. The film was written by Tunde Babalola, who also wrote Kunle Afolayan's October 1. Now let me begin by saying that this review will be spoiler free. I won't be dropping any intricate details about the movie so I don't spoil it for you and so that you can go to the cinema and watch it for yourself. And secondly, this review is sponsor free. I know you see the Viju chocolate beside me. It's my favorite drink in this country, but Viju is not sponsoring this video. Just wanted to put that out there. It's just the refreshment for the day. Now, why La Femme Anjola is a highly anticipated movie is because, well, in case you didn't know, it's highly anticipated because this film was shot a while ago. I think they filmed it in 2019, maybe even partly in 2018. And, you know, I guess they've been editing it since then, and maybe it was meant to come out in 2020, but we all know what happened in 2020. So they took their time to actually make this film, which is a bit rare in Nollywood these days. And also, this is the first major role that Rita Dominic has been in quite a while. I think the last time, correct me if I'm wrong, that we saw Rita Dominic in a leading role was in 2012's The Meeting. And she co-produced that movie with the director of the film, Mildred Ogwo, and they replicated the same formula in this movie. Mildred Ogwo directs and she co-produced it along with Rita Dominic, and Rita Dominic stars in the movie. Mildred Ogwo herself is a big deal in Nollywood. She's a big-time director. She hasn't done that, well, to my knowledge, she hasn't done that many movies, but the few ones she's done are very good. Lots of people consider her to be a director's director. So saying that, you know, one of her masterpieces is coming out, lots of people are looking forward or have been looking forward to La Femme Anjola for that reason as well. So now that you have an idea of why La Femme Anjola is such a big deal, let me talk about what I liked about the movie. Now, I like the fact that they used the neo-noir style of filmmaking to tell the story in this film. Neo-noir is a style of filmmaking that came after noir film. Now, noir film is a term that the French used to describe certain movies that were made by Americans in the post-World War II era. Films that had a certain kind of look, a dark look, and films where, in most of them, there was a critical mystery being solved. Think like detective movies. And also those films incorporated elements like dimly lit scenes, narration, flashbacks, and very creative use of shadows. Lots of elements in the scenes of such films were cast in shadow creatively to add to the story. So those are noir films. Now, neo-noir films are films that were created after that era, but were intended to look like the films of the noir era. It's not something you see very often these days, especially in Nollywood films. So it was really nice to see that kind of execution for La Femme Anjola. Interestingly enough, I initially thought the title La Femme Anjola was a nod, you know, at the character Anjola. Maybe she was from a francophone country, but no, it's not the case. It's just a nod to the fact that this film is a neo-noir film. The production of this movie was also very impressive, from the shot composition, the lighting, the transitions from one sequence of the movie to another sequence. There was a part where Nonso's Jeep zooms down a road and the camera just pans with the car and splashes water, like a puddle of water, like in the direction of the camera. It was very impressive. Sometimes it's just the little things, but I was very impressed by that. They had aerial shots of Lagos that made Lagos look so beautiful. They made Adejare look so well lit at one point. I was wondering how they were able to pull that off. I mean, if for people who work behind the camera on TV or in movies, they will really love this film because they are people who are in the business of, making such things, and those little details, those clean shots really matter a lot. So you can't help but notice those things if you work behind the camera or if you appreciate such things. The costume design of this film, amazing. Yolanda Okereke, she's a very popular costume designer. She handles costumes for many movies, and she did the costume design for this film. She made Rita Dominic look on point each time, as with Nonso Bassey and the other members of the cast. The costume of this film was a very critical element too. If they didn't get it right, the look and the feel of this film wouldn't have been the same. So I really appreciated that. I like that as well. And then even the background sounds, the ambient sounds in the movie, those were impressive as well. There are scenes where, key characters were like backstage at the lounge, and you'd hear somebody else in the other room maybe rehearsing. You just hear other sounds from the environment to give you a better feel of where they were, those little details. So those are some of the things that I really liked about this film. I could go on and on about the things I liked about this film and that could have made it score an A, but because of something that will happen, or something that happened that I will talk about in what I didn't like about this film, it made me give this movie like a C or a C minus, but I'll get to that later. For now, let's talk about the performances in La Femme Anjola. Nonso Bassey. Nonso Bassey did good, I heard him say in an interview not long ago that La Femme Anjola is like his first big film. He's been acting for a while, but I think, like he said, this is his first big film, and he did really well. He was very relatable. I could feel his pain and his frustration being a young man who is being seduced by a woman as beautiful as Rita Dominic's character. So he was very convincing. Kudos to him. Rita Dominic. Jay-Z said in a song on his Blueprint album once, he said, "Don't bark up this tree will fall on you." I have certain opinions about Rita Dominic's performance in this movie, but it would mean me criticizing Rita Dominic, and I'm not sure if I want to bark up that tree or go down that road. Don't get me wrong, Rita Dominic did really good. I just feel like maybe it could have been better. When you play a femme fatale and one who's also a singer, like a lounge singer, very little elements and aspects, even like, how you hold your microphone as you sing, they can make a bit of a difference in your performance and how relatable or how believable your character is as a femme fatale or as a lounge singer. And I feel like it could have been room for improvement, but hey, who am I? I've never acted a day in my life, so what do I know, right? Maybe I was just hoping for more. I don't know. I didn't get what's her name, Rosamund Pike vibes from Gone Girl, from Rita Dominic's performance in this movie. I think I've said too much. Femi Jacobs was impressive as usual. He had a scene with Nonso Bassey where they had a confrontation, and the way that confrontation played out, I loved it. It was gold. Shawn Faqua really did well. In fact, as I was watching, I didn't know that was him until I read up on the movie afterwards. The performances were really good. Even Bassey from Big Brother, he did well as well. Boyo did well. It was performances all around top notch. What I didn't like. There were two things mainly that I didn't like in this film. First of all was Angela's character. I feel like she wasn't crafty and conniving and dastardly and deviant enough. Like, I didn't hate her. I pitied her, but I didn't hate her, and I feel like we were meant to hate her. She didn't give me Gone Girl vibes. But hey, maybe it's because, of how attractive she was. Sometimes when us men see a really attractive woman, we don't think the way we should. So maybe I was beguiled by her beauty, who knows. But the second thing, and the more important thing that I didn't like about this film, was something that happened in the third and final act of this movie. Something that made me downgrade this film from an A minus that I wanted to give it to a C plus. C plus, in general C plus, I'm going to give it a C minus. But hey, a C plus. And it's kind of like how, if this movie had ended like 30 minutes earlier than when it did, it would have been an awesome film. In fact, when you watch the film, you'd be like, oh, okay, so we're coming to the end of this movie now, right? But no, it goes on for another 25, 30 minutes. And in that time, it just takes a whole different detour. And the way I liken it or relate it to is, ladies, you know how when you're at a party or at a bar and a guy comes to talk to you and he introduces himself to you, and he actually has good conversation, he's funny, he's intelligent, he's entertaining. It gets to a point in the conversation with him that you're like, okay, take my number now, ask me for my number, or ask me to, if I want to go to somewhere more private, I will say yes. Ask me now. But instead of him doing that, he continues talking. He goes on and on and on, and when that happens, Mans is more likely to say something that he shouldn't say, and he ruins the image that he has painted in the woman's mind. That's kind of what happened in the final act of this movie, where things were going so good. They should have dropped anchor, drawn the curtains, rolled the credits, but then they went into something that... But anyway, I digress. It doesn't mean that the film was a bad film, like, what my friend Shawn said, because after seeing the movie, I chatted with a few friends who also saw the movie. We all saw it individually, and, we're all chatting. And like my friend Shawn said, he didn't like that final act either, but it doesn't mean that the film was a bad film. It was still a good film. It could have just done without. Who should see it? People who can sit through a 2-hour and 20-minute movie. That's who, because this movie is a long one. So yeah, make sure that you take your snacks, you take your sweater, and you use the bathroom before going into the cinema to watch this film. Also, dare I say that this film may not appeal to a large category of Nigerian cinema goers, because I find that the typical cinema goer in Nigeria likes movies where they just laugh, where there's like pedestrian or juvenile humor, and there's a little bit of romance here and there in the movie. You know those movies, you know what I'm talking about. I've reviewed some of them, But this movie, La Femme Anjola, is not in that class. It's a more classy film for the discerning cinema goer, for the thinking man, thinking woman. It's in the league of films like Oloture and October 1 and Citation. In fact, the writer of October 1, Tunde Babalola, he also wrote this film, La Femme Anjola. So yeah, finally, this film is not for kids. There are some steamy scenes in this movie. So yeah, make sure the kids are somewhere else than that cinema theater when you go and watch this movie. But aside from that, if you like intelligent films that are very well made, if you like those little details, good production value, then you should totally go and watch La Femme Anjola. So in conclusion, first of all, I wish the final act of this film and the Cape Town scenes weren't in the film, but regardless, from a production and a storytelling standpoint, this film was a delight for me to watch. I was on the edge of my seat at certain points. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I feel like this film will do incredibly well once it gets on the streaming platforms. The Nigerians in diaspora, they're going to love this film. They'll eat it up. And yeah, so big congratulations to Madam Mildred, Rita Dominic, Nonso Bassey, and the rest of the cast and crew. You made an incredible film. It was very enjoyable. And fun fact, Rita Dominic has another film coming out in a week's time. She's going to be in The Therapist along with Michelle Dede and Tony Abraham and a host of other fantastic actors. So I should be reviewing that one too very soon. Fingers crossed once it comes out. When La Femme Anjola premiered on Sunday, March 14th, it was a bit funny watching the premiere on social media on Instagram, because that same night was Grammy night. And as many of you know, Burna Boy and Wizkid won their first Grammys that night. So all the attention was shifted from the premiere of La Femme Anjola to the Grammy wins that night. I can imagine how painful it must have been for the filmmakers, but hopefully they'll bounce back from that, and the film will get lots of press and publicity and will do really well in the cinemas. Thank you guys so much for watching this review, for watching all the way to this point. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to check out some of my other reviews on other films that I've done. They're showing on the screen right now. And also check out some of my personal finance reviews as well. I really want to stress that, because if you are trying to get better with money and with investing, I have videos on how you can invest in the US stock market, how you can invest in agri-tech, and a whole lot of other things, how you can save. I have lots of videos on personal finance. Check one or two of them out. There's a card in the corner of the screen. If you click on that, you'll see a playlist of my personal finance videos as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it by clicking on the like button. If you feel like I made sense in this video, consider subscribing to my channel. Feel free to share this movie review with anyone who you feel will enjoy it as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll catch you guys hopefully in a few days for the review of The Therapist. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys in the next one.